Hello, everyone.
Alright, stop posting gifs. My internet's already fighting for its life.
Welcome to the Saga Song of
Hold
Beaglesaurus.
on, let me find one last one. Okay, one last one. Here.
Apologies for having. We're just kind of like posting gifs in the chat
That
right now.
reminds me. When I was watching Adult Swim last night, there was an episode of Bird Girl. They actually had Germa in the episode.
Nice.
Why?
He was the dude, and he was just the opposite dude who was trying to be the villain. And I can't take him seriously because it was fucking Germa.
Germa was in a Harvey Birdman spin-off cartoon. How weird.
Wait. Rip to Orange is opening.
See my opening. My opening's fine.
What? Wait. Orange.
Kind of opening.
What the fuck is this? I thought you told me you promised we're gonna dramatic murder. What the fuck?
What?
Look, Dramatical Murder is next year. Don't worry.
We
It
got
is?
Dramatic Murder.
God,
You
this
better.
feels...
Joking. He's
I thought
not.
I was
gonna do
this feels like it would be the worst possible day for Kaneko. Like, April Fool's Day seems like it would be the worst for Kaneko.
Yeah.
April Fools, I almost lost my fucking life.
Yeah, that's it. I already got
that's right. Jesus.
Yeah. So for
It's fine.
realsies,
It's fine. People got
No, we
very
are-
upset
okay,
about
no.
our about this joke too.
Con, it's April Fool's, meaning
Con.
Orange is being funny.
yes, it's our little joke. It's a little humor.
Not again.
What do you mean, not
What do you
again?
mean, not
also-
again?
Orange missed me getting someone with.
Oh god, so many sounds! One person, please!
Discord calls were not meant to have this many people in
Answers.
them.
Words.
Orange, get to mutant so you can start the stream.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna start right now. I mean, episode 7's been going pretty good thus far, Miranda.
Oh,
At any rate, let's enough beating around the bush.
Time to beat some people.
time to beat the bush directly.
Wow.
Enjoy your spicy Sprite.
My spicy Sprite?
Open the pit.
Crimson
Please
got on the
open
crack
pit.
again. Anyway.
No, it's Sprite. They're doing an April Fool's joke about spicy Sprite.
she.
Alright, Umineko, let's go.
Let's fucking go!
Yeah, what is this brought to us by? Is this brought to us by Spicy Sprite?
It's not brought to us by anything. We're at a fucking funeral. Oh my god.
So whose funeral service are we advertising?
Beatrice's. Were you not here?
I thought we were having
They are the
You said you
funeral
were
home?
caught up, I thought.
This episode,
Funeral for Winnie.
this episode of Umineko is being observed.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, you need to come up with sponsors to do this shit.
This episode of Umineko
Damn it.
is brought to you by the loving memories that Beatrice had left us before she parted.
Brought to you by inside jokes from the Silver Kid.
This episode of Umineko is brought to you by living in Spain without the S.
Alright, enough sponsors. Technically speaking, that's only B's job.
She reviews because by the person.
Let's get down.
Wait, what is Picture Box? Have we ever looked at that?
It's the pictures. The
It's a
CGs.
box of the pictures.
Oh,
Which
is it just the CG?
which is unfortunately incomplete because we had to do some shit to make sure that we got to where we needed to be in the story.
Right.
After my computer shat itself super hard.
Oh, I actually forgot about that part and that time.
Do not capture my Photoshop screen. That's for later.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. I mean, yeah, we gotta work on my D&D stuff.
Oh yeah, I keep
by the
forgetting
way.
about that.
Is everyone for D&D here right now? Sing,
hi.
Gold, Orange, Noir. Are we missing someone?
No.
Everyone
Wait.
that attends D&D is here, in fact.
Is anyone available to do it tomorrow instead of Sunday by any chance?
That is a negative for me.
I mean for D&D. D&D specifically.
Yeah, no, that's a negative. I'm busy tomorrow.
No, like this D&D.
Wait, what?
On Sunday!
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
Instead
Anyways,
of
we'll-
Sunday.
We'll discuss that later. Umineko.
Okay, yeah.
This isn't also D&D related, but I don't think I'll make it to the movie tomorrow. It's my great-grandma's 96th birthday tomorrow. And we're gonna celebrate.
Come on, Grandma.
You're saying she doesn't want to watch?
Let us begin.
Let's begin.
I brought Willard's on.
Kinzo and Genji could be seen in the VIP room. Kinzo sitting back in a chair, his eyes closed as though in a troubled sleep.
Master, the guest has come to see you.
Kinzo slowly opened his eyes. Those eyes were red from crying. They regained their focus and slowly fell on Will. I am Shiramiya Kinzo.
Will?
I am Willard. Allow me to express my condolences.
So, you came here to attend Beatrice's funeral. Just who are you?
I'm no one. I have no connections with anyone. Don't think too deeply about it. You'll just get a headache. Gah!
I ask that you choose your words a little more carefully.
What a strange guest. So, what business do you have with me?
I want to ask you about Beatrice.
What? Kinzo's gaze grew sharp. Leon felt a bit lightheaded and wondered why this guy had to be so direct. Why do you ask? You're no one, aren't you? Why do you want to know about Beatrice? What is your purpose?
Because I'm no one. I can listen to your tale impartially and record it. You'll probably leave this world before too long. If you die without telling anyone anything about Beatrice, their children will adorn Beatrice with whatever tale they please, writing that into their memories.
You entertain me, boy. Do you plan on writing my will for me? But that is none of your business. Beatrice is mine alone, no matter what other people say. No one can defile our tale. They say it's of no consequence. No matter how crass others misconstrue it, it will be neither painful nor vexing to me.
Willard Summer. The master is not fond of wills. He is not one to abandon anything while he still lives.
Probably true. I thought it sounded a bit unlike you.
The ability to struggle on as long as we have life is what makes us human. You think I would give up so soon and leave behind a will? How laughably absurd.
Yes, that does sound a bit more like you. It's not your style to ask someone to write about the past just because you think your death is drawing near.
You know how deeply you love Beatrice Sama. You're the model most worthy of respect that any of us know, and an example for us to follow in every aspect of our lives. Please guide our wandering souls and tell us just how much you loved her grandfather. How you were able to live through everything you faced because of her love. I only ask you guide us by showing us that love's strength.
You're pretty good at this.
It's your fault for being so tactless.
Boy, what do you know of Beatrice? A truly ignorant person wouldn't even be interested in learning more. The mere fact that you know Beatrice's name shows that you are neither ignorant nor unconnected.
Good point. The Beatrice I know of is the woman you loved. The one you met before the mansion on Arkinjima was even built. However, she probably departed from this world, leaving behind a daughter. And that's the girl who was raised in Kuadorian.
Oh.
Willard-sama. There is no building known as Kuadorian on this on Rikenjima.
That name, Kuadorian. You mentioned it when we were talking with Aunt Rosa, too. What in the world does it mean?
You should have an idea by now. It's the name of that hidden mansion deep in the forest where his mistress' daughter lived.
Interesting. So you actually know the name of Kuadorian. Continue. You have sparked my interest.
Kinzo shrugged and grinned.
The one living in Kuadorian was probably Beatrice's daughter. However, it seems that you, at the least, didn't think of her that way.
Oh. Then how did I think of her?
When Yoshirimiya Rosa went to Kuadorian, Beatrice told her a little about herself. In that conversation, she referred to you as Kinzo. It was the same when she spoke to you directly. Though she said she thought of you as a father, she didn't call you father. She either chose not to call you that, or she wasn't allowed to call you that. That can only mean one thing.
And what might that be?
Reincarnation. You didn't think of your daughter as a child Beatrice left behind. You believed that the dead Beatrice had revived to a new body. Genji. Once in the past, you've spoken from Natsui and several other family members, stating that there had never been a child between Kinzo and Beatrice.
I have no memory of saying this.
Of course, this game's Genji probably wouldn't remember. However, near the end of the first game, when the survivors had all gathered in Kinzo's study, Genji was asked whether Kinzo and Beatrice ever had a child together. And he denied it, saying,
I have not heard of anything like that.
That may have been a lie, but in a way, it was a model answer for one of Kinzo's confidants. After all, in Kinzo's eyes, she wasn't a daughter, but Beatrice reborn.
Will! I don't know what you're talking about, but I will not let you slander the family head.
This isn't slander. It's reasoning. However, I must understand the heart. In your eyes, Beatrice was the woman you loved most. She remained that way even after death, for all eternity, without fading in the slightest. Fuck me. Fading in the slightest. I doubt you thought of her as Beatrice reborn at the moment of her birth. However, it wouldn't be strange if you slowly began to wonder whether that child, whose blue eyes and beautiful blonde hair reminded you of a younger Beatrice, might actually be Beatrice reborn.
Master, shall I?
Shall I drag this rude child out? Genji asked Kinzo. For a while, Kinzo hung his head in silence, as though remembering something from his own past.
Your daughter grew to be beautiful and nearly identical to her mother. You must have been ecstatic. However, I doubt you'd be completely satisfied by that alone. After all, though she was Beatrice reborn to you, she didn't think of herself that way.
How can you know that?
Whenever she was called Beatrice, she got this feeling that she couldn't shake away, a feeling like something was out of place. People never feel anything out of place about the name they're given at the time of their birth. However, she did have that feeling. That must mean she was aware that the name Beatrice wasn't hers.
In Kuadori, she asked both Kinzo and Rosa who she was.
Who am I? Everyone calls me Beatrice. And that does indeed seem to be the same name of a great witch as you say. But that isn't me. I cannot use any magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sealed inside my body.
Her memory would have returned eventually. She must have truly been Beatrice Reborn. Her memory was coming back, bit by bit. My magical ceremonies were helping her regain her memories one little bit at a time.
Head-sama.
There's no need to be surprised. If you line up the information in all the games so far, this is the obvious answer you get. The high-level Beatrice talked about this. By metaphor, she said that Kinzo refused to let the witch's soul escape even after death. Instead, caught it and locked it up in a body of flesh. She also said that her power and memory had been sealed. If you match that interpretation of hers to this theory, it all makes sense.
Willard-sama. Thanks to powerful magical ceremonies, the Master gained a reborn child of the dead Beatrice-sama. That cannot be denied.
I won't deny the stork. And I don't intend to doubt the depths of Kinzo's love for this woman called Beatrice. How a man shows his affection for a child who's the only living reminder of her mother is no one's business. As she grew to look more and more like Beatrice, and Kinzo's love gave rise to a new, special emotion. I find that a very human reaction.
You think you can understand my love?
I'm not qualified to understand it. However, I'm also not qualified to deny it.
Oh, Beatrice, please forgive me.
Kinzo sobbed quietly for a while, wiping away his tears. Because of his love, he believed she was Beatrice Reborn, and raised her that way. However, somewhere in his heart, he might have felt pangs of conscience, telling him that he might be forcing his emotions on someone who wasn't really Beatrice. Then, the Beatrice of her Kruadorian had an unexpected guest, Rosa. That woman simply couldn't believe that she was the Beatrice Kinzo designed. She couldn't stand the fact that she didn't understand who she was, and she wanted to escape to the outside world. Then, she fell from the cliff and died.
Genji handled that death, which couldn't become public knowledge, very quietly. Funerals aren't for the dead. They exist so that those who are alive can sever their ties with the dead. You can never do that. That's why it festered within you.
Beatrice! Oh!
Grandfather.
You lost your mistress's daughter. No, you lost Beatrice twice. Unable to let that sorrow show on the outside, you kept it locked up in your heart. And it eventually festered and turned to madness. That's what spurred on your normally strong interest in the occult in your later years.
Oh! Beatrice! Beatrice! Why? Why did you leave me twice? Your smile, beautiful hair, those eyes. Why did you die in my arms not once, but twice? How much? How much you... Oh! Oh! Oh!
By now, Kinzo wasn't even trying to suppress his sobs. He sometimes scratched at his head in anguish, sometimes faced the heavens like an opera singer. Kinzo yelled over and over again, repeating Beatrice's name. At that moment, there was a quiet sound of a door closing. When they turned around, she was already there. Kumasawa had appeared.
If they already knew that much, perhaps we can tell them the rest.
Though, if they know that much, I don't believe there is anything more to tell.
Was looking at all the pings telling me to talk. Okay. No, we should tell them. As a woman, I've always thought that the heart of Commodorian's Beatrice is a story that should be told. And now someone has appeared who is worthy to hear it. I believe that now is the time to tell all without holding back.
Umasawa-san, do you know something? About Beatrice?
Of course she does. In the 4th game, we have testimony from the ferry boat captain saying Kumasawa went in and out of Kuwadorian. I'd be willing to bet that Kumasawa had different work shifts at the mansion and Kuwadorian. There was a young girl to be taken care of. Kumasawa, with her long experience in taking care of children, must have been of immense value.
That is correct. You might even call me her wet nurse.
No way. I can't believe it. So, Jesus Christ. So, everything Will-san is saying is the truth?
Yes. It is a fact. A secret mansion was constructed on the other side of the island for Beatrice-sama. By the way, is it ever Beatrice? Is it always Beatrice?
The Beatrice is just something Orange likes to do since that's the original way the Japanese man said it.
So I should just say Beatrice?
Say it how you want.
Just go with Beatrice.
Okay. Kuwadorian's existence is truth.
I don't know when Kinzo married his official wife. But at that time, he already had an enormous store of wealth he had bought from Kinjima Hole. He had then built 2 mansions and set up 2 separate lives.
Kinzo's children had always been aware of Kinzo's clandestine eccentricities at the time. It probably hadn't been easy to maintain 2 separate lives. Moreover, Kinzo's wife had been suspicious and had sniffed around all the time.
The master stayed in Kuwadorian as much as time allowed. He would sometimes pretend to go on a business trip and stay there for several days, treasuring the time he spent with Beatrice-sama. It was not a father-daughter relationship. You could sometimes catch a glimpse of his great love for the dead Beatrice-sama, and it was a heartwarming thing.
The way you say it makes it sound like he sometimes treated her as a substitute for the dead Beatrice.
No.
Oh. I said the line. Oh, there it is. If it sounded that way, my apologies. Beatrice-sama probably accepted her father's love. However, I will not deny that she was sometimes forced to bear a love she didn't Jesus Christ!
Yeah? Yeah?
Please just keep reading it straight.
I said the line.
Kumasawa's tone made it sound as though she was scolding Kinzo. As a mother who had raised many kids, Kumasawa probably spotted that Kinzo's love was sometimes misplaced. However, the more she grew to look like her mother, the more distorted and twisted Kinzo's heart became. Because of his deep love, it grew very, very twisted.
You are right to scold me, my friend. I understand. My love is eternal and undying. However, I must acknowledge that I poured that affection them to the wrong person.
Grandfather. Wait, you don't mean...
Lion Sama.
Leon.
Leon Sama. All humans in this world are tied to each other. Even if they do not notice, there is always some sort of tie. These ties wrap around themselves, around people, and bring them together.
No way. Grandfather.
Just as Kinzo had done, Leon also wiped away tears and stared down at the floor. Apparently the truth had been too much of a shock for the young successor to handle.
Master, the time to speak has arrived, has it not?
I see. So that time has come, my friend.
Unless you tell us, none of the truth will become clear.
Master, I believe they may have the qualifications to and the right to know.
I know. Perhaps on this day of my fickle funeral, Beatrice in heaven has given me a chance to atone. Forgive me for not telling you this before now.
Taking a deep breath, Kinzo finally lowered the hands that had been covering his face, and looked at Will and Leon with those red eyes.
Grandfather.
You listen too, Leon. Guest. Willard.
Yeah.
I thank you for giving me a chance to speak of the truth while I am still able. You must surely be a messenger from heaven, sent by Beatrice. You have my gratitude.
Beatrice isn't the one you have to thank. It was just a witch. Well, I guess they were both witches.
I do not care who it is. I have been given a chance. That is enough. Thank you, Willard.
Kinzo slowly stood up and held out his right hand. He was offering to shake hands. It must have been Kinzo's way of expressing his gratitude. Will responded. The two hands gripped each other tightly in silence. When they did, a bright light poured out from the gap between the two hands. Will felt as though something the size of a grain had burned itself into his palm. It was the power that Burncastle had given him. The light grew brighter and brighter. However, it seemed that Kinzo and the others couldn't see it.
Now, I will speak. I met Beatrice. Beatrice Castiglione, just before the end of the war. She came from across the sea.
Are you Kinzo?
It's how grandfather looked in the past. I've seen photos. Just what on earth?
It's the theater-going power that Castle gave me. Don't try to understand.
I'll just get a headache.
You're getting the hang of this.
At one time, Genji told Balor that he looked like Kinzo in his youth. Sure enough, though the young Kinzo wasn't exactly the same as Balor, they looked very similar. Allow me to introduce myself again. I am Ushirimiya Kinzo.
Grandfather.
Even the voice seemed to resemble Balor's somehow. Clearly Balor had inherited Kinzo's blood more thickly than any other. I had no desire to succeed the Ushirimiya family headship. My being chosen as the head was nothing more than the prank of fate.
In the Great Kanto earthquake, those in charge passed away, and you were selected from the branch families.
That's correct. After all, grandfather was wise despite his youth, and he'd already possessed a dignity fitting for the headship.
Ridiculous. As greedy elders kept looking out for their own personal interests, and couldn't decide on a new head at all. It was as foolish as arguing about who the new captain should be on a sinking ship.
So, since you had no connections with anyone in the main family, you were selected right out of the blue.
It's all because of my toes. If only I had one less toe on each foot, my life may have turned out quite differently. In the Ushirimiya family, polydactyly was seen as a mark of good fortune. After all, many of the great ones in their family history possessed it. It was all very pathetic. The others didn't care whom they dragged in, as long as it wouldn't benefit any one of them in particular.
So it just happened to hear that someone in one of the branch families had 6 toes? And decided that would do well enough?
Precisely. The others didn't care what sort of novice became the next head, as long as they could make him their puppet. In fact, the more this person was ignorant of leadership, the better it'd be for them.
Father.
Leon. It is quite different in your case. You'll be the one who inherits everything I have. That is the fate you were granted on the day of your birth. That is why I gave you that silver ring and raised you so strictly. You are quite different from me. You're already a splendid successor, of whom no one could be ashamed.
Yes, sir.
A puppet for the head. I doubt that could have been easy.
As he pondered about where to begin, Kenzo laughed bitterly. Probably bring back painful memories no matter where he had started from. It lasted for so long. That span of gray days. That dizzying stretch of time I spent dead, like moss growing on a rock. I became the rope in the tug-of-war between the elders, who thought of nothing but their own profit. And I probably could have snapped at any moment. However, people are far more resilient than one would think. Though I spent so many days as though I had been killed, I was not killed. So I was forced to search for death on my own. Before I realized it, I had reached an age in which the young would laugh at me if I tried calling myself young. That dizzyingly long stretch of gray was left completely empty. It lasted for a full 20 years. In 20 years, a person can be born, find a purpose, and even become their own man with their own place in the world. In short, if one truly becomes a human only when they have become a working adult, then I spent a period of time long enough to create a human, doing nothing but playing the part of those greedy elders' puppets. Ironically, though that time aged my body, it did not age my mind. My mind alone was still as young as it had been during those rich, happy days before I was summoned to Odawara. and yet my body alone grew older and older. Eventually, the vast gap between the two reached almost incomprehensible levels. So I could hardly believe that this worn-out man in the mirror was really me. No, it really wasn't me. The head of the Ashurmia family was just a name. It had no power. It didn't require that I have any independence. There was no need for me to get involved with anything. I was just a doll sitting there on the doll rack, gathering dust. I remember nothing but lazily flipping through Western books I liked, locking myself up inside my own worlds, doing nothing but playing with roses and drinking terrible drinks. And it lasted a full 20 years. Before I knew it, I suddenly had a wife I did not know. It wasn't any wife I had chosen. It was the daughter of some noble family that the elders had chosen and forced on me, for their own reasons. But that did not matter to me. I did not love my wife, but neither did I dislike her. I just didn't care. I fathered a few children, but it wasn't out of love for my wife. They were just born before I knew it. That's all there was to it. None of it mattered. No, that's not quite right. Everything was decided by someone other than me, and I simply obeyed. That was the job of the Ashurmia family head. Yes, on some level, I did feel as though I was being slowly and quietly killed.
I can't believe it. To think that you, the one who'd been praised for being such a bold and wise ruler, lived a life like that for so long.
Leon, there's nothing so long and faint as a life you do not live for yourself. And yet, it slides on by in the blink of an eye. Do not forget this.
Life you live for yourself.
Living means having your own will. You probably were dead during that time.
Precisely. I wanted to live. No, I wanted to die. How can a puppet die?
By cutting the strings?
Correct. That would be death, and it would also be life, since it would mean being free. Before I realized that trouble was brewing in the world. World War II. The Pacific War. Japan extended their war fronts too far to the east and west. The tide of war was changing. Thanks to the influence of the elders, I was able to avoid conscription. Of course, this was not out of compassion for me. It is because I was their precious puppet. So the war never really felt that close to me. However, when I personally decided to abandon their protection, it was very easy. At that time, the Ashurmia family had almost completely collapsed. And since the elders had apparently gathered enough of the scraps to last them the rest of their lives, seemed to care little for what I did, now that they no longer had any use for me. So, I realized that I had finally found my time to die. One by one, I cut the threads I was hanging from, and began to search for a place to end my life.
So you searched for death on the battlefield.
I thought that if I was going to die anyway, I should try to be of some use to my country. No, that's a lie. Probably just lacked the willpower to end my own life. War was a suitable excuse for death.
I heard that grandfather had knowledge necessary for public work projects and construction. So he was tasked with setting up facilities for the Navy construction team.
And what a foolish mistake that was. If only I had just said that I had no useful skills, I could have been sent to the dangerous front lines right away.
So you didn't need to go to the front lines.
Some of those were overjoyed at their luck. It was the opposite for me. I only wanted to get drunk on the liquor known as dying for the sake of one's country. The US planes did nothing but cut across the skies of that forgotten island. They didn't have a bullet to spare for me, much less a bomb.
Is this the time you met Beatrice, grandfather?
Correct. She came to me from the sea.
Where did you meet her? You mentioned an island.
Yes. This island. That's where she arrived.
So you met here, on Rakenjima?
What's going on? I heard that Rokenjima was uninhabited until you bought it, grandfather. I never knew there was a Japanese military base here.
Yes. You can hardly call that a military base. It was just a cave. I was one of the guards of that cave. (1944). Through the honorable defeats at Sanpan and Guam, Japan's absolute national defense zone strategy was in shambles. Where the gallantry showed at Pearl Harbor gone, the attackers were now the ones on the defensive. At that time, it was said that the last trump card for the Japanese military was a type of manned torpedo, known as the Kaiten. That these ultimate weapons, packed with 1.55 tons of explosives, were capable of sinking any kind of warship with a single blast. To strengthen homeland defense, the Navy drafted a plan to build a string of hidden bases from Hachijo Island to Yokosuka, all to house submarines loaded with Kaiten torpedoes.
I knew there was a Kaiten base constructed on Hachijo Island. But was there actually one on Rokenjima too?
What fool decided it would be a good idea to plant a base on this desolate island? To better preserve its secrecy? Ridiculous. I can never understand what the higher-ups were thinking, and I didn't particularly want to. The Kaiten, which could finish off a large warship with a single strike, truly was an ultimate weapon. It was hoped that the presence of submarines capable of loading these weapons in the waters just off of Japan would allow for a powerful sea ambush as a final line of defense. So, to aid the establishment of a base with absolute secrecy, the uninhabited island Rokenjima was raised as a possible candidate. An investigation of the island resulted in the discovery of a large cave in the cliffs. This is apparently deemed to be a suitable location for a submarine base.
Sorry about that. So you were tasked with aiding the establishment of that base?
Establishment? Certainly if you call digging out a cave establishment. Not only that, the base is abandoned before its completion.
Why? Oh, hello?
Because at that time, Japan no longer had any submarines large enough to transport a Kaiten torpedo. How truly laughable. What's the point in having a submarine base if there aren't any submarines left? If there's one thing that never changes, it's politicians and their meaningless projects. The base on Hachijo Island was outfitted with Kaiten torpedoes, and became a base for direct attacks. But Rokenjima was never supplied with any. Furthermore, the construction was eventually suspended, and a minimum number of men was stationed on the island, waiting for orders from above that never came. Could the fact that it was a hidden base actually have sealed our fate? The higher-ups already completely forgotten about the useless and pointless cavern. They're nothing more than guards for a mere cave. He spent our days farming, fishing, and playing with the dirt. All the while gazing up at the American formations flying past. Some of our groups were relieved at the prospects of having the war ending before anyone remembered where we were. We were here, before any of us had to face a real battle. Of course, it was the opposite for me. I hoped and hoped for the American troops to advance and kill me as soon as possible. Those days were empty and blank. Let us go back. Back to the turning point in my life and my fate. The time that assured me of Kinzo finally became truly alive. Who wants to be generic Japanese military?
Up! What are you doing slacking off in the fighting so close?
Starting to spin around inside my head. I could just lie down on the floor, but that'd only make him more angry. I've got no intention of being obedient. Still, it'd be stupid to get myself punched for no reason, so I got up and stood at attention. The fighting close, is it? Isn't the American troops likely to show up on this forgotten island? Let them come right now. That's what I've been waiting for all this time.
What's this cowardly look you're wearing? Is this how afraid you are of death? Are you so scared of those Americans? You won't be killing any of them with an attitude like that.
I got hit again. Could you please quit your whining already? Filthy cowards. They let themselves be controlled by the inexplicable anger because it's the only way to distract themselves from their own fear. Heart and spirit aren't of any use when the battle becomes hopeless. When trapped by an insurmountable hopelessness, humans tend to rely on several other emotions to escape their fear. With these young, inexperienced soldiers, anger was a very convenient emotion to fall back upon. Anger is the wine they used to paralyze their fear. It made them chant, "Damn the British, damn the Americans," as they swung their bamboo spears around and called it drilling. The more wine you drink, the more you need to drink to get drunk. Their useless anger continued to pile up, day after day without pause. I did not fear death, so I had no need of the wine called anger. They made their cowardice all the more apparent to me.
What's this look on your face? Ushiramiya, you've lost your nerve down to your very soul. You're a fish, that's what you are. You got the eyes of a dead fish.
However, it went both ways. As I was able to spot their cowardice, able to pick up on my lethargy. I'm going to say lethargy, apologies. A quick shout out to Eclipsara for following. I appreciate that. Other generic soldier man.
It's you, Shirley and Kinzo here! The lieutenant's looking for you! Stand up! No slouching about! Double time!
First Lieutenant Yamamoto was the commanding officer in charge of the Rokenjima garrison. Another filthy coward trying to forget his fear with violence, and would often reprimand his subordinates for slacking off at the drop of a hat. Whenever he was in a good mood and started spouting off stories of his life, they were all about how much of a thug he had been, ignoring the rules of society. On and on about how so-and-so was a prick. So he taught them a lesson. Or how everyone was so scared of him that he got special treatment. He kept talking about what a vile human he was as though he was a badge of honor. Normally nothing to do with this lieutenant, who I couldn't respect in any way. He'd always hang around with his non-commissioned subordinates. As long as I treated him with a snappy salute, I could more or less ignore him for the time being. Now the construction project on this island had been suspended indefinitely. There's no longer any use for an engineer like me. So why did the lieutenant ask to see me specifically? At that moment, I couldn't think of anything.
still me, or is this somebody else?
This is the Lieutenant Yamamoto. I believe, he suggested that Sim should do this? I mean, I don't know, sure, if you want to.
Huh?
You want to do this thing?
Sure. Shirmio. Yeah, Shirmia.
Wahoo!
I'm good with foreign languages. Is that true?
I'm proficient in both English and Chinese, sir. He had to brag about his education in front of the non-commissioned officers. They held a bit of a grudge against me for being even more highly educated than him, since he also felt uncomfortable about having a subordinate who was older than him. I wasn't of the type he'd be willing to confide in. The fact that I knew several languages must have hurt his pride.
What about Italian?
I don't speak that.
So you wouldn't be much help as an interpreter between me and an Italian person, would you?
It would be possible if they can speak English as well.
Oh yes, very true. Have you ever talked with a foreigner in English?
I have. Why on earth would he need an interpreter in a cave on an uninhabited island that even our superiors forgot about? His question made it clear that some guest had arrived on Norkenjima who would need an interpreter.
Good. You sure, Mia? You'll be my interpreter. That's an order.
That evening I found out exactly what he was talking about. Oh yeah, Boreal, let's go! First hinted Siconia music. That pointless submarine dock in the cavern that had never been used was now being approached slowly by a submarine of the Italian Navy. Of course, neither the Italians were our allies. However, this was the first time I'd seen anything from the military with my own eyes. Hey, Leone, you're needed.
Oh, sorry. What's the Italian Navy doing here? Didn't Italy surrender in 1943? What's going on?
It was the Kingdom of Italy that surrendered. However, those who couldn't accept the surrender joined Mussolini and formed the RSI, so that they could have continued fighting.
The RSI?
The Italian Social Republic. Also known as how do you say that?
Salo.
Salo Republic.
You know your history. The ignorant often call the Italians cowards, saying that they surrendered first to the Axis powers in 1943. That's not true. The military of the Italian Social Republic fought bravely from the outbreak of war until April 29th, 1945.
And Berlin fell just 3 days after that. Far from being cowards, they gave one hell of a fight. Still, I'm surprised that the RSI Navy even had possession of a submarine that could travel all the way to Japan.
Even if they did, I'm surprised they'd come out this far at all. Why would they come to Japan? It's Hirokinjima.
Submarine was both weather-worn and massive. If anyone had ever imagined that a Ford submarine would come all the way out here. We never even had one of our own submarine stock. All the guards in Norkenjima, of which there were only about 30, stood at attention as the submarine docked. Another random military man.
I've seen the Italian military before. I had in mind that some accident trashed their sub.
When I heard it sounds like their ventilator broke down and the cabin got attacked with chlorine gas.
The lieutenant was hinting about there being something very important in there.
You mean like a code machine or the blueprints for some new kind of engine?
I couldn't care less what they're carrying.
Nor beating you to it.
I'm surprised that the higher ups still remember we exist.
Hurry up your Skirmia. How are you supposed to interpret from over there?
Yes, sir. Top of the hatch was a young Italian saluting us. Normally should have been a job of a commissioned officer, but his clothes looked like they were of a sailor. And it really didn't look like he had the dignity and composure of a ship's captain. It meant that all of the commissioned officers in charge had died in the accident that had befallen the sub. Crew members crawled out of the hatch one by one. They all looked pale and extremely worn out. I'm not sure how long ago the accident happened, but being crammed together in this tiny sub filled with chlorine gas for any amount of time could be good for your health. Not only are the ventilators broken, but the traveling about carelessly on the surface of the waters around Japan these days would have been foolish in the extreme. Like a trip inside a can of poison gas. Almost all of them were unable to walk without leaning on someone else, like a bunch of people staggering out of a hospital boat.
You sure me out. Ask them who the captain is. Tell them that I'm in charge of this island.
Welcome to Japan. Do any of you speak English? Crew members seemed to understand that I was speaking English, but it looked as though none of them could speak it. Eventually, someone who seemed to be dressed in it as an officer saluted. Welcome to Japan. Are you the captain?
I cannot speak English.
Perfect, I was going to tell you to do the Italian captain.
Please wait.
The officer answered in slow, laborious English. After asking us to wait, he shouted something to his subordinates in rapid Italian. Looks like he was telling them to get someone among them who could speak English.
Sei un pazzo.
You sure? Yeah, what are they talking about?
They asked us to wait. I'm looking for someone there who can speak English. At that moment, I heard a high-pitched cough. It wasn't a man's cough. It was a woman's.
Yara Foya.
If you
I speak English.
As she came down from the hatch, a woman with beautiful golden hair said this in English. In this filthy cavern, the appearance of one as beautiful as she seemed like an angel descending upon us. Welcome to Japan. Is the captain there?
The captain is dead. That man over there is the only officer left.
My condolences. Can we do anything to assist you?
We'd like some fresh air and water. Some of us are still having trouble breathing. And we'd like a place to rest.
We would be happy to help. Do any of the others understand English?
The ones who did are all dead. I'm the only one left.
You sure, Mia? What's that woman talking about? Who's the captain? The man from a second ago? Who is this woman? It's translating already, god damn it.
Lieutenant had been yelling like that for a while now. He must have been surprised to see such a beautiful woman appear from a submarine. I'm more than a little annoyed to see all of her attention focused on me alone. Here's a mark of how divinely beautiful she was. Sir, seeing that she's the only one who understands English, she would like as their interpreter. Their captain is dead. That officer seems to be acting in his place.
Who's that loud man who keeps yelling at you? Don't tell me he's your superior.
Alright, dial it back a smidge.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
I loved it.
I'm just saying, no heavy accents. Unfortunately, No, you're good. Unfortunately, he is. Probably doesn't like seeing me have such a beautiful lady all to myself.
Oh? I didn't expect flattery from an Asian. Your English is superb. I imagine you've been brought up very well. Unlike that rude man who keeps on shouting. They should have made you the officer in charge around here.
Oh? I expected flattery from a Westerner.
You're an interesting man. What's your name?
Ishiramiya. Kinzo. If you don't mind, I might ask for your name as well.
Beatrice Castiglione.
Welcome, Beatrice. Welcome to Japan. That was when I first met Beatrice. When it would capture my heart for the rest of my life.
So, Beatrice was an Italian?
Yes. She's the daughter of a high-ranking RSI official. Apparently the most important cargo was her father himself. Sadly, he had already died by the time they reached Rokenjima.
Why would a high official like that come to Japan? You're saying he went through the Suez Canal and crossed the Indian Ocean to come all the way here?
That's a good point. If they wanted to reach one of their allies, Germany should have been much closer. So why would they make the long trip to Japan?
It may have been part of some grand, outrageous strategy. I don't know all the details, but shortly after I learned that the submarine's mission was far from a minor one.
There had been about 60 of them at the time of their departure. However, only about 10 of them, including Beatrice, had survived. The submarine had apparently hit a mine or something that in the nearby waters had did a great deal of damage. This had been flooded rapidly with water, which had taken out the batteries and released a large amount of chlorine gas. Their sub had become completely incapable of continuing further. Nothing but a massive lump of metal floating by the dock. The sub seemed to be carrying something of immense value. The higher-ups ordered us to investigate. After questioning the Italians with Beatrice and me acting as double interpreters, we concluded that the thing of immense value must have been her father himself. Apparently Beatrice's father was extremely high up in the RSI hierarchy, and it was thought that he might have worked alongside Mussolini himself. The massive voyage had apparently been part of some top-secret mission. Now the man himself and all of the commissioned officers had died. The reason for coming to Japan remained a mystery, and our higher-ups were telling us to investigate, but even they didn't know what it was. Their ship had broken down, their mission was unknown, and the high officials they had been carrying was dead. And even the Japanese government didn't know why they were here. The Italians' great and perilous voyage had come to a meaningless end and utterly fruitless. A meaningless and utterly fruitless end.
That's a relief. I always assumed the seas of Japan would smell like soy sauce.
What a coincidence. I always thought Italians had hair made of pasta.
Of course we do. You don't know how hard it is to get that perfect al dente texture. I imagine you Japanese all wear spaghetti al nero.
I see you've done your homework. In Japan we use squid ink instead of shampoo.
You really are amazing, Kinzo. It seems you know everything. Have you ever been to Italy?
Never. I've read a lot of books, though.
An Asian man reading Italian books? Wow! What kind of books?
Niccolo Machiavelli and Dante Alighieri. So I know, of course, that you're the Eternal Lady.
Oh, what a surprise. You must be quite the bookworm. Does this mean you came from some Japanese noble family?
Who knows?
You're completely different from those other savage-looking Japanese soldiers. I can tell. You must have come from a noble family. Are the Yoshirumi some sort of Japanese aristocrats?
Of course not. They just managed to strike it rich in the spinning industry in recent generations. They didn't study all that as part of some noble's hobby. I just did it because I wasn't allowed to do anything except read. Play around with roses, and get myself drunk. There had been no trace of malice in Beatrice's words. It's been a curious question about it asked to a friend from a faraway country. However, Beatrice was from a noble family herself, so she could tell. She could see the faint, gloomy look on Kinzo's face.
Forgive me, Kinzo. I didn't stop to consider why a high-class person like you would choose to take the position of a common soldier.
I don't give a damn about my family line. When I die, the name of Shirmia will hold no value on me. Then I'll finally be free.
So, you joined the army because you wanted to die? You mustn't do that. Your family would be so sad.
Family? I have no family. I have a wife for the sake of public appearances and children. However, I've never wanted any of them. Everything. Everything is a fleeting daydream created by those selfish, greedy elders. So, at least while I'm on this island, I can forget about all of them. And find some peace. Peace? But haven't I spent each and every day complaining that I wasn't sent to the front and haven't managed to die yet?
I can't understand the pain you're going through, but I do realize that my thoughtless words might have hurt you. Forgive me, Kinzo.
Forgive me, Kenzo. Yes, those words are probably what did it. All of the Japanese called me Ashiramiya. Reminded me that I was the property of the Ashiramiya family every time they talked to me. But she was different. She called me Kinzo. Not Ashiramiya. So maybe, just for the time, I could chat with her like this. I can forget that cursed family.
Kinzo.
I hadn't meant to make Beatrice feel guilty. But she seemed certain that her thoughtless words had hurt me. Thank you.
Huh?
Since you always call me Kinzo, I finally feel like I'm my own man. I think that I finally met a person who truly sees me for who I am.
Kinzo. You may be a foreigner I met in a distant land, but I can tell that your heart is sensitive and beautiful. If we had grown up in the same neighborhood, I'm sure we would have become fast friends. I'm happy too. You always call me Beatrice, not the daughter of the Castiglione family.
We're both in the same position. Her Castiglione family must have been a rigid place as well. If we came from distant countries, we had finally found something that we both understood.
Do you have a nickname that people close to you use?
No. They usually just call me Kinzo.
Well then, you should stop calling me Beatrice. All of my close friends used to call me Beast. I'd like you to call me that too.
Very well. From this point onwards, allow me to call you Beast as a sign of our friendship.
Oh, come on. Don't be all stiff like that. We're already friends, okay?
A bright smile stretched across Beatrice's face.
No matter how many decades pass, that smile will never fade from my memory.
So,
So by meeting Beatrice, you managed to regain your sense of self.
Or, as most people would put it, he cheated on his wife. I got it! Get it!
If you plan to continue being rude, I suggest you get in the habit of covering your butt.
After having his butt pinched once more, Will hopped around in pathetic agony.
So, in your eyes, grandfather, Rokenjima was always special because you first met Beatrice here.
Indeed. If I never come to this island, I would never have met her. It truly is an island of miracles.
Is there anything left of that submarine base today?
Yes, it's still there. Near Kuadorian. It's in the shadows of a cove that can't be seen from the outside. The troll fishermen never approached the supposedly ill-omened island. It's unlikely that anyone besides me still knows of its existence.
There's a 2-kilometer long underground passage between Kuadori and the mansion, a remnant of that base.
That is correct. There's some nonsense about fortifying several locations across the island and connecting them with the tunnels carved out of the limestone caverns. I made use of that underground passage and built 2 mansions. One at the end of each island.
2 mansions and 2 families. The Ishumiya family mansion and the mansion for the Kinzo released from the shackles of the family.
Correct. It was something I needed. A place for me to escape from the cursed name of Ashuramiya.
Still, I do feel bad for you. Must be awful to have come all the way out here and be unable to fulfill your mission.
I don't really know what Papa's plan was. He said we needed to run far away to hide it until the time came.
And what is it?
I don't know. It was something very important, and he planned to hide it for many years until the right moment. Oh, and he planned to hide himself along with it. I know because he apologized to me for sending us to live a long time on foreign soil.
And that second lieutenant of yours said that you had no cargo in particular. You were transporting your father instead?
Lieutenant Angelo doesn't trust you or the others. Even I know a few things he's kept hidden from you. He might even know what Papa's goal was, and what the cargo is.
Whatever it is, it's a mission for the Italian military. Something to do with us. After all, we're allies. Should be able to trust each other.
I have no doubts that you're a good person, Kinzo. I even told Lieutenant Angelo that you're a man we can trust, but... why is it that men always get so rigid and uptight when they're in a strange land? Normally they're all very bright and cheery people. Ever since we came here, there's been this strange feeling of tension. Lieutenant Angelo has ordered that his subordinates be armed at all times. It's almost as though we're in enemy territory.
That was true. The Italians were clearly the very opposite of relaxed. Japanese soldiers watching us began to suspect that the Italians didn't really trust them at all. That's normal for a soldier. That's precisely the time for them to be straightened up their guard. They don't embarrass themselves in front of a friendly army.
They have a person stand watch every time they sleep. And they're still keeping a lookout to make sure none of you approach the submarine, even though it's nothing more than an unusable scrap heap now. It almost feels as though they're clearly prejudiced against the Japanese, and that bothers me.
Sure, they'd set up a constant sentry by the submarine and refused to let any of the Japanese soldiers come near it. This hadn't made the Japanese particularly happy. However, submarines are treated as classified in all countries. Maybe it was just natural for them to stop foreigners from approaching it without reason. They're probably too uncomfortable with being made to live in a way they aren't used to. The boat that's supposed to take you back to the mainland is still being delayed by weather and problems up at the command chain. Just how long will it take before they can send you there? We have been told that a boat was being sent for them directly from the mainland. But apparently thanks to the weather problems up the command chain. Thanks to the weather problems up the command chain and the recent air raids. They had no ships they could spare on a forgotten island like this. There may have been political issues as well. After all, the Italians' homeland had already surrendered to the Allies. I didn't know the details. One thing I knew for sure. They'd been stuck on Rokenjima for 2 whole weeks, and no one had come to get them. Of course, with some small boats on Rokenjima. There's nothing physically stopping us from taking them to a nearby island. Still, Rokenjima was technically a top-secret base, and contact with the outside world had been strictly forbidden.
Well, there's nothing we can do about it. And it isn't all that bad, really. After all, if a boat did come for us, I'd probably never see you again, Kinzo.
True. To me, those 2 weeks were the first that I ever truly felt alive. I think 20 years before I seemed to vanish in the sparkle of that pair of weeks. I realized that you'd have to leave this place eventually. And yet the single moment felt so rich and dazzling. I found myself wishing it could last forever. Then I heard a voice calling for Beatrice in Italian. It's Lieutenant Angela. Looks like he wants you for something.
Probably to scold me. These days he keeps yapping on about how I shouldn't get too friendly with the Japanese soldiers.
The second lieutenant approached, saluting Kinzo. After glancing at Beatrice as though asking her to translate something, he began to speak in Italian. Judging by his tone, it sounded like something serious.
Lieutenant Angelo has something very important to say, so he wants to talk with your commanding officer. He wants your help with something. I don't know what.
Something important. Got it. I'll go find Lieutenant Yamamoto. Lieutenant Angelo had 2 of his subordinates with him and wore a stern expression on his face. He didn't have to say anything for us to realize that this would be something very serious. Yamamoto, I think.
That's it. Lift it up.
The winch creaked and the thick chains rang out with a dull clang. Very, very slowly, it was lifted up out of the submachine's cargo hold.
Now I get it. So this is why those Italians didn't want us near their sub.
The first lieutenant and the others looked up at what the winch was slowly lifting up. All of them wearing unpleasant, forced smiles.
Unbelievable. So this is what Papa brought all this way?
Incredible. I've never seen anything like this. It was a mountain of gold ingots. Those carefully piled bars are being slowly lifted out of the cargo hold, one group after another. This gold had been their true cargo. I didn't know where they were planning on to take it. I've been trying to sneak it into Japan, one of their allies. Or they might have been on their way to hide it to some remote area. Was it some sort of strategy? Conspiracy? Embezzlement? Top secret transportation of wealth? This incomprehensible amount of gold led all sorts of dark suspicions. We didn't know anything about the truth. All told, the gold weighed an incredible 10 tons. That was the only truth we could wrap our minds around at the moment. They had strongly resisted showing this to us. However, the submarine could no longer make sea, and it was apparently continuing to take in water bit by bit. Rokenjima had been outfitted for an extremely slipshod way, so we had no means of repairing it. Although we could unload the sub, there was no way to be able to lift it up again once it had filled was it filled with water and sunk to the bottom. Now they're transporting the gold away. It clearly become an impossible goal. They apparently decided on unloading it. Of course, they made no effort to explain the reason behind all that gold. They just asked us to help them take it out. Why would they take so much gold out of the country? Couldn't they have changed the course of the war with this much wealth?
Weapons changed the course of war. But after the war, they aren't useful for anything. Money can also change the course. But it remains just as valuable after the war.
There's no longer any way to change the course of this war. The Axis powers will probably all surrender, leading to an Allied victory. Anyone could tell that simply by looking at the American planes flying across the sky day after day. However, gold does not lose its value after war. Everyone stared upwards, dumbfounded, as the wind slowly lifted the dully sparkling gold. Oh Christ, that was a really short chapter.
I'll be real, the song kind of makes me chuckle a little.
Yeah?
It kind of sounds like somebody mimicking opera.
Lieutenant Yamamoto, the Italians don't want us to tell the mainland about this gold.
So they don't want our country to snatch it away from them.
What did he say?
You're saying your group probably doesn't want to report it, just because you fear that Japan will steal it away from you.
Lieutenant Angelo is actually more afraid of Italy itself finding out. To us, our homeland's current government is a mere puppet set up by the Allied forces. If they find out, the gold will be returned to them. However, that would be the same as handing the gold over to our enemies.
They'd come all this way to make sure that the gold didn't fall into our enemy hands. You need to hide it from the puppet government until their homeland can be truly restored.
You sure, Mia? Make a proposal to the Italian. Tell them that we wish to offer our assistance.
What sort of assistance?
Let's see if I've got this straight. They want that gold kept secret so their homeland doesn't find out about it. But they'll need to find at least a transport ship if they plan to carry it off this island. If they try that, though, the mainland will hear about it, which means the Italian government will too.
That's right. In other words, there's no longer any way to take that gold off Rokonjima. The mission must have been to hide this gold in absolute secrecy until the day of their homeland's restoration. Later on, several plausible rumors would circulate about how Nazi Germany also moved much of its secret wealth to certain hidden areas in South America, just prior to its collapse. It's a very natural conclusion to reach. That submarine was their only method of transporting the gold in secrecy. It's become completely useless. They can't fully stop the water from seeping in, and it'll probably sink completely before much longer. There's no longer any way for them to transport the gold in secrecy. In other words, their mission had ended in failure, here in the Far East. So just how is Lieutenant Yamamoto proposing that we assist them?
The Rokonjima base is top secret, and nobody knows about it. The islanders in the surrounding area think this island's ill-omened and deserted, so they never come near it. Catch my drift, Yushirmiya?
What did he say?
As I told you earlier, nobody knows about this base. And as you can see, it's of no use strategically, so the higher-ups have already forgotten about it. Like Lieutenant Yamamoto is suggesting that you hide the gold on this island. Beatrice quickly translated this and told Lieutenant Angelo. He began discussing something rapidly with his subordinates. They didn't look happy. Japan may have been their ally, but they probably didn't want to leave the gold for reconstructing their motherland in Asian hands. It feels hard to imagine any other option for them.
It's a fierce debate. Some say there's no other option, while others think we should remain loyal to our homeland no matter the cost. Lieutenant Angelo is stuck between a rock and a hard place.
The final order given to them by their fallen homeland was to hide the gold. However, by now, there was no way for that order to be carried out successfully. If the mainland of their own homeland found out, the gold would probably be confiscated by the wrong people from their point of view. They wanted to carry out their homeland's orders faithfully. Lieutenant Yamamoto's proposal was extremely reasonable. Though he couldn't understand their words, he seemed to realize how divided they were.
If we help out, we'll be able to hide the gold in total secrecy. Fortunately, there's an abandoned tunnel that stretches all the way across this island.
You're saying that if you find the gold underground and bury it, if you hide the gold underground and bury it on this island, no one will be able to find it.
Our side is saying that it sounds like a realistic proposal. However, there seems to be some resistance to accepting Japanese help.
Accept it.
He's having difficulty coming to a decision.
Do you really have a choice, Italians? You don't think you can hide that gold without our help, do you? And I doubt you want to leave it lying around on the beach for much longer.
Lieutenant Angelo wants to minimize the number of people who know about the gold. He doesn't trust the Japanese, but it looks like he's decided that Lieutenant Yamamoto's plan is the best possible option. But he seems suspicious.
About what?
He's wondering whether they really intend to move a full 10 tons of gold and swear themselves to secrecy without any sort of compensation.
50%.
Sir, you can't be.
Hand over half the gold to us. With that as our work wages, we'll hide the other half nice and safe for them.
He's telling you to give us half of it. The instant Beatrice translated that sentence, Lieutenant Angelo slammed his hand on the desk and stood up. Instead of flinching, Lieutenant Yamamoto, true to his boasts of once being a thug who everyone feared, actually looked even more relaxed and confident than he had previously.
After all, they don't have the option of refusing. We could demand 80% if we wanted. I've lowered that to 50 as a sign of good faith. Of course, we aren't the only ones with leverage here.
That is actually me doing it.
Oh, sorry.
Of course, it's fine. We aren't the only ones with leverage here. If the Italians decide to leak this to the outside, all the gold will probably be taken by Japan or Italy. We don't even get a single yen of it. This can only work if we're both partners. Oh, that's actually you. Shit, I'm stupid. Go ahead.
If the Italians decide to leak this to the outside world, all of the gold will probably be taken by Japan or Italy. We won't get even a single yen out of it. This can only work if we're both partners in crime here.
He's saying we shall be partners in crime of embezzlement. By now, he's already moved on to speaking as an individual, not as a soldier.
I don't believe it. So the gold has blinded him.
Lieutenant Yamamoto was grinning. It really did look as though he had been blinded by greed, just as Beatrice said.
They just leave it piled up where it is. You can be sure that will be noticed when the boat comes for them from the mainland. If that happens, none of us will profit. They ought to accept our proposal and hide the gold as soon as possible.
It sounds like Lieutenant Angelo is dead set on the Japanese and Italian governments not finding out about this. He wants to carry out his duty until the end.
So, what exactly does that mean?
He wants to put gold buried deep within the island, even if he has to pay some percentage to buy your silence. Of course, some of his subordinates object strongly. They're saying that 50% is out of the question.
You're sure, Mia. How are they doing?
They also don't want any more people laying eyes on the gold. They seem to object to their portions.
Lieutenant Angelo says they'll consider 10%. Though he's also saying that he's fairly sure Lieutenant Yamamoto won't accept that.
You sure, Mia? What's the Italian's answer?
They said that they'll consider 10%. Then was Lieutenant Yamamoto who slammed down on the desk. But the Italians didn't flinch either. An incredible tension filled the small room. However, despite his violent outburst a second ago, Lieutenant Yamamoto's expression still looked smug and in control. Really confident that he now had the initiative.
10%? Now there's a modest proposal. Okay, sure. I'll give up 10%. We'll split it. 40-60. Tell them I won't go any lower than that.
40% for the Japanese, 60% for the Italians. Lieutenant was talking tough, but in truth, the negotiations were being made on equal footing. If the Italians had just wanted the gold for themselves, there wouldn't have been much of a problem. But what if? What if they were true patriots? Decided to return the gold for the purpose of reconstruction, even to the defeated puppet government of their homeland. If so, they probably would have reported the existence of the gold to the Italian embassy. Eventually, the Italian government would petition the Allied nations for the retrieval of their gold. Probably wouldn't make it all the way back to Italy, but it might be used effectively to repair and rebuild their battered towns. If that happened, Lieutenant Yamamoto and his friends would only be able to sneak out a few ingots at most. He was greedily planning to make this his own treasure island, so that he and his subordinates could have an enormous fortune all to themselves. If he wanted to succeed, the Italians would have to keep the presence of this gold quiet. But there's one thing I don't get. Lieutenant Angelo doesn't want to let anyone have the gold. He could have just let the submarine sink. Why did he have it unloaded?
I'd rather not think about it. But Lieutenant Angelo might have started planning to embezzle the gold as soon as he realized that the mission would be impossible to complete. Right now, he's asking his subordinates for their opinions. Both the soldiers and as individuals with families waiting for them back home. The more straight-laced soldiers are furious.
The discussion between the Italians were becoming fierce and emotional. Though their homeland had fallen, they had come all this way in accordance with its orders. Probably been given this mission because they were particularly faithful and duty-minded troops. Seems they couldn't just agree to a foreigner's proposal to embezzle and split up the gold. Lieutenant Angelo looked like he was doing all he could to calm the unexpectedly fervent rage of his subordinates. Looks like the gold is blinding them, too. Everyone's mixing up their true feelings with how they want to be seen. And they can't make up their minds.
How's their answer coming? You sure, Mia?
Biche. Yamamoto's asking for an answer.
They're saying they want some time to think. I had you to talk to, so I was able to distract myself from our current situation, but that wasn't true for the rest of them. They lost a lot of comrades at the end of a very long journey, and now they're here and in a tight spot. They've even lost their mission, the one thing they could depend on to guide them. they don't know what to do.
Sir, take like some time.
Sure, let them talk it over all they want. But they better not take too long. If we're gonna hide that gold, that'll take time and effort. Make your decision before noon tomorrow. That's all, Italians.
He's giving you until noon tomorrow. That bastard. Probably threatening you.
Lieutenant D'Angelo says he'll ask for everyone's thoughts on the matter.
Which way do you think they'll go?
It'll probably be tough going. It seems Lieutenant D'Angelo is willing to consider splitting it. But his subordinates and the others will probably oppose that. All of them have lost close friends on their voyage to the Far East. They're firm in their desire to do their duty for our homeland.
Will they refuse Lieutenant Yamamoto's proposal?
Even if they do, the gold will just fall into someone else's hands. If nothing is going to be left of anyway, Lieutenant D'Angelo suggests they each sneak at least one ingot back with them, and some of the others seem to agree. But men always get carried away at times like this. Even I can't guess what they'll do.
Leon.
Leon!
Dion is gone at the moment.
Can we take a little break? I need to do something quick.
Alright, how long is that gonna be?
Couple of minutes.
What
do you...
Well,
I can't promise anything.
Do you want to stick with the original plan?
Well, and now she is Beagle.
In their honor, I will not allow this.
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Okay, number one, the original plan was I get to voice Leon. Number two,
I know.
The last time B was having issues, they relinquished it to me. So
Randy will not allow this for LaRouche.
So I think, for the sake of continuing onward, I will voice probably one of the few lines of Leon remaining in this chapter. Anyways...
I will voice Leon.
I can voice Leon.
I imagine the Italians have some complicated feelings about all this.
In their eyes, the Iliad surrendered was probably a little better than an enemy country. Letting the gold go back to where it would make their entire voyage meaningless.
However, embezzling and divvying up the gold will also make their whole voyage meaningless.
The country they felt obligated to serve had already fallen. That alone destroyed the significance of their journey. Not a happy story for them.
If it's bound to be meaningless anyway, wouldn't keeping hold of even just a few ingots be better than nothing?
Sure, if you want to calculate the shit of profit and loss. But men are like that.
The Italians were gathered in a cramped room, arguing fiercely. I guess random Italian soldier?
I don't like it.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Most British Italian soldier.
The most cockney
I
Italian.
don't like it.
Let me try again. We must remain true to our soldier spirit till the end for the sake of our fallen comrades.
Oh, now we're going boppity boppa.
That's too German.
And how do you define remaining true?
Kermit!
Oh, my Italian Kermit. Let's go.
By hiding the gold in the island, like something in the proposal of the Asians.
Oh, now you're trying Swedish.
Oh,
We can't trust them. Especially that Yamamoto person. We mustn't let our guards down.
Unloading the gold and letting the Japanese. I was trying to go for Sicilian. I don't even know. Japanese were a huge mistake. We should have let it sink with the salt.
Oh, wonderful idea. Let's just sink it right inside a Japanese base.
Can I do the next one?
Sure.
It would have been pulled up eventually. That wouldn't hide anything.
It doesn't matter. There's no way to get the gold off of this island without anyone knowing.
Robert won the gold
That
there.
was actually pretty good. Wow.
Maybe they just taken the honorable path and scuttled the sub. Then this would have happened.
If we had known then that the sub would be broken beyond repair.
Why did the lieutenant commander contact the Japanese military and ask for help? How was he planning to carry out the mission if they found out about the gold?
Our mission was a failure from the moment he asked us for help.
All of us have families waiting for us back at home. And we've more than done our part, I'd say, voyaging all the way to this island country in the Far East. You might call this fair and just payment for our services.
Chatter.
Boobity 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 bobbity. Boobity boopity.
So we couldn't have this sexy Italian Beatrice, but we can have the most boppity boppa
Yeah,
Italian
because
soldier.
it's just generic ass soldiers. Anyways, Lieutenant Angelo, if the journey proved to be less than amicable, we need to be prepared to take extreme measures.
And what do you mean by extreme measures, Cooper?
Wait, hold on a second. Noir was canonically Angelo, so you can.
And what do you mean by extreme measures, Corporal?
Someone gulped. A stiff tension hung around over the room. The Japanese here are pushovers. They're all cowards of the battle experience.
And we are the elite. We know the layout of all the entire base along with the number of Japanese troops and how they are arranged. If Lieutenant Andrew gives the order, we should be able to subdue them. Excuse me, I need to actually... Okay, too late.
Only a few of them, the Yamamoto included, look like fighters. The rest are just the laborers attached to the military. It may look like they have the advantage of numbers, but we have the greatest military force.
If you kill the Japanese, what exactly are you gonna say when the boat comes to pick us up? You really think that'll work?
There should be plenty of ways to work it, as long as the corpse isn't found. I'm becoming Swedish now.
Lieutenant Angelo! It'll be easy to subdue this base. If we kill the Yamamoto and then the few strong fighters, the liberals will probably surrender easily.
I was trying to go for Wario, I don't even know what.
You went for the pirate.
Let's have them carry the gold and bury it. Of course, we'll have to silence them afterwards.
Are you suggesting we massacre all of them?
Later do it. If we kill them all, no one will know about the gold.
Oh, Jesus.
At that moment, the supposedly locked door opened slightly, and a metal object was thrown in.
Grenade!
Granata!
Granata!
As a yell rang out, the table was kicked over to be used as a shield, and they all dropped to the floor. However, in this cramped room, it probably wouldn't do them any good. The Italians were all prepared for death. Huh? A dud! It's a dud! Fortunately, the shot grenade was a dud. The door was slammed open, and 3 Japanese soldiers wielding pistols jumped in. Random Japanese soldiers now. Don't do an accent for this one.
Okay, that's too much.
Isn't that
Damn it, it's a dud!
Kill the Italians! Wait, okay, so who's doing it?
Now go right ahead.
Kill the Italians! Kill the Italians!
Isn't this reverse racism?
Racism is racism.
We're not discussing the ethics of this. It's Italian and Japanese. One of these is funny to do an accent for, the other's racist.
They probably don't.
Who else with humans?
Hey, I'm half Italian, it's fine.
So is Orange.
In the smaller room, no matter who shot where, it was bound to hit someone.
You're all Americans.
The exchange of bullets instantly caused a rain of blood, with casualties on both sides. The 3 who had jumped in were covered with bullet holes and fell over, moaning and thrashing.
Oh, and except...
Gino! Gino! Den vägade slang, vi kan inte se dem!
Someone else go. Come on. Hurry up.
We should consider ourselves lucky. If that grenade had gone off, we'd all be dead.
The game was still rolling about on the floor. It had been a surprise attack. I think Yamamoto had probably judged that the negotiations wouldn't go his way and had decided to make the first move. Or maybe he'd been planning from the very beginning to put them in a position where they'd be gathered in one place to discuss his offer. Okenjima was their island. If they killed all the Italians, then not half bad. But all the gold would go to the Japanese. There's a chance the grenade might go off late. Guns brushed out into the corridor. They heard gunfire from down the hallway. It was coming from the direction of the submarine dock. Clearly the troops guarding the pile of gold were being attacked.
Lieutenant Angelo, what are your... No, wait. This is Japanese. Lieutenant Angelo, what are your orders?
No choice.
We have no choice.
This one's noir.
Kill the Japanese.
Look, he's Italian on his mother's side.
Lieutenant! These guys are good! These guys are ordinary sailors!
I see. They needed men good enough to guard that gold, after all. We have the numbers.
I think this is from a Japanese perspective.
Keep your cool, Sarah. Yes, it is.
Fuck your cool. Surround them and kill them. Let's hunt some Italians.
Oh no, orange!
Man down! Man down!
The path is coming out of my body.
You don't give someone CPR for a bullet wound, damn it!
As soon as I heard the sound of repeated gunfire, I knew. And that something, which had been smoldering since the time the gold was unloaded, had finally burst. The eyes of our soldiers looking at the gold hadn't been normal. Yes, those eyes had been entranced by demons. The Italians had been pushed to their limits by the heavy burden they bore. Who wouldn't have snapped at being trapped in a distant land, where you can't understand the language or the writing? Thinking I had to do something, I ran to the sound of gunfire. Looking back on it, this was an extremely stupid thing to do. The sound meant that there were people shooting at each other. People killing each other. And yet, unarmed as I was, I dashed towards the sound, so I was trying to mediate some schoolyard fight. Didn't take long before I learned how foolish and naive that it was in the heart of battle. Hirooka. Shit.
Hirooka.
Warrant Officer Hirooka was lying face down, his entire body drenched in blood. Judging by the trail of blood behind him, it was clear that he had somehow managed to crawl here from a different room before dying. No, he was still twitching. He might not be dead yet. But on this island without a doctor. No. Even if we had a doctor. Who could possibly save a man who had been shot this many times in the chest? Looked into the room he must have crawled out of. I saw two more blood-stained Japanese corpses. They're I fell backward pathetically on my butt, my mouth still hanging open in shock. Come to think of it, this is the first time I'd ever faced death in my life. The entire world was at war. Even the millions were dying, both east and west. This is the first time I met with a person's death directly. Ridiculous. Didn't I join the army hoping to die? Didn't I whine about not being sent to the front lines? Yeah, so rejoice, Kinzo. Isn't this the death you were looking for? When I spread your hands and yell out loud, "Come for me, magnificent death!" Someone came running toward me. It was a colleague of mine, a Japanese man, Tejima-kun. He dashed towards me, pale-faced, out of breath. This scene is shot for shit, but anyways, his face seemed horribly contorted with terror. I'm probably the same. Tejima-kun!
What happened?
Run away. We'll all be killed.
Someone yelled in Italian at the same time. Taijima-kun let out a scream. They grabbed onto me as he fell to the floor. I already seen him sprinting across his back before my eyes. Taijima-kun.
It's Tajima.
Tajima, whatever.
Run.
As he spread burbles of blood, he said that one word and died. The shock of seeing someone die right in front of me did not freeze my heart. At a fundamental level, all living things are unconcerned with the deaths of others. The one thing that matters is whether they themselves die or not. The barrel of a gun the Italian soldier was pointing that froze my heart. Taijima-kun's back burst once more as he leaned against me. Flesh tore, blood splattered. The warm splash of it covered my face. Was the Italian still trying to finish him off? Even though he had stopped moving for good. How foolish I'd been. And I still understand the scene in front of me? Rejoice, Kinzo! Now you finally get what you wanted all this time! The Italians hadn't fired to finish off Tajima-kun. He'd been aiming at the man Tajima-kun had fallen on. Me. Shiromiya Kinzo. I pushed his corpse aside, scrambled against the floor, and dashed away, tumbling over myself. My hands had pushed off against the floor, hard enough to tear off the ring finger fingernail on my left hand. When faced with death, humans truly can resist with everything they've got. I tumbled over and over as I ran, scraping up parts of my body. It was painful and hot. That didn't matter at all! I heard the yelling in Italian come from behind me over and over again. It felt like they were running, chasing after me. I didn't want to look back. I kept on running and running, but the Italians were right behind me. This is death. Didn't you want to die? No. I don't want to die. Why? Didn't I want to die so badly? But now, I know. I know how wonderful it is to be alive. She told me. Biche did. I can only be free when I talk with her. No! By talking with her, I finally came alive for the first time. I was born! I want to live. I want to live. I want to live. I want to live! I don't want to die! I want to live and see her right now. If I don't see her, I'll die. I'll be killed! Stay cool, Kinzo. You're gonna be killed too. If you live and she dies, you might as well be dead! Before I knew it, my face was covered in tears, snot, and saliva. Stumbled into something and fell. I was finally able to come to my senses a little. I can still hear an imminent gunfire. The gunfight was still going on. It spread throughout the entire base. BJ. Okay? I'll find her and take her to a safe place. Then we'll probably kill all the Italians and steal the gold. BJ probably won't be an exception. BJ. BJ! I lived for the first time after meeting you. I was born. So if you die, I'll die again. If you ever saw my body being reborn, not as a Shiromiya Kinzo, but as a completely different Kinzo. Of course, I was terrified that I might really be shot if I went back. I didn't want to die anymore. To truly die. I was able to overcome my fear. Bitchy!
Rubens! What on earth is going on? What is all this?
There's no need for you to know. Just stay hidden there. Don't come out until one of your fellow countrymen calls for you.
I heard an Italian voice! He's over there!
Okay, so we're gonna put a sensor beep here and just keep going.
How Italian are you, Orange?
Oh, what?
Oh, wow!
Well, no, Randy, you're the one saying this. You're the one about to get
Oh,
shot.
I am?
How about nobody says this and we just keep going?
Just say bastard.
Damn,
Just say
damn
bastard.
Damn human.
Don't worry, they're just talking about Saiyans.
Reuben stood with Beatrice behind his back and neatly shot the two men rushing at him with two 9mm bullets from his Beretta and 1934. Fuck. However, one of the 8mm bullets from their Type 94 semi-auto pistols went straight into Reuben's chest. All three of the shooters were struck in the chest and fell down in a heap.
No! Rubens!
Go up to the surface. You have to hide in the forest.
Rubens!
Smooth.
My. Aren't we chatty? Oh, never mind, that's you. Fuck me.
My, aren't we chatty?
The next person to appear was the commanding officer of the Japanese soldiers, Yamamoto. The blast of 3 guns had just sounded. Adding on Beatrice's screams, it was hardly surprising that he had noticed the encounter.
If it had to come to this anyway, we should have taken this woman as hostage in the first place. Damn annoying, that's what they are.
Yamamoto spat. Beatrice used that moment to snatch up Reuben's gun.
Look at you, reaching to pick up a gun without missing a beat. Italian women sure are scary. Damn it, both of you screwed up.
He forgot this last part of the two dying men who lay moaning at his feet. However, what had happened to them wasn't particularly surprising. It wasn't the first time it had happened either. In his tiny cramped tunnel, nearly everyone had met head-on. When both sides shot recklessly in such a situation, the result was 2 corpses. So ever since another person had pulled the trigger quickest, won. That was the only way to survive this battle without a bullet in your chest. Because of this, both Japanese and Italians had killed each other without hesitation, sometimes even pulled the trigger on oncoming allies. In the midst of all this were several Japanese men who had stumbled into the fight, wondering what was going on. They didn't know whether the person was holding a gun or not. Everyone had reflexively pulled the trigger at the sight of anyone other than themselves trying to stay alive. The entire base had been wrapped up in the slaughter. There was a fierce gun battle taking place in the submarine dock, and a massacre resembling a hunt was taking place at the base. Most of the non-combatants side of the base were killed before they knew what was going on. The Italians were indeed quite seasoned troops, the numbers began to drop bit by bit. Bloodstained corpses were scattered everywhere. At first it had probably been a proper gunfight. However, as their minds began to grow weary and numb, it devolved into that most basic cause of war throughout humanity. The desire to kill all foreigners you don't understand. Whenever they heard words they didn't understand, they pulled the trigger. By that point, the screams of foreigners sounded no different from those of man-shaped beasts. After all, they couldn't understand pleading in another language. So it had long ago turned into a mere massacre. As the number of dead surpassed the number of living, sounds began to return to the base. When it felt as though everyone had died, and you could hear the distant sound of the wind blowing through the caves. There'd be a sudden scream, the crisp sound of a gun. Remember that the massacre wasn't over yet. This happened over and over again, and eventually true silence fell. It marked the pitiful end for those led astray by gold. The leader of the Italian soldiers, Angelo, managed to survive somehow. He encouraged nothing but the corpses of friend and foe. All was quiet once more on the base. If he was careless enough to call out, he might be shot from the shadows somewhere. So he snuck about like a panther, breathing quietly and searching for remaining enemies. There was no sign or trace of any living person. Maybe all the people in the base had died.
Okay.
This is Noir, because it's Angelo.
Damn. Japanese.
The Japanese struck first, but at the time, we were also talking about killing them. Some of the first move as military men. Actually, I believe this is this Angelo narrating?
I think so.
So perhaps we should be grateful for this day. Even if the boat had come to pick us up, there would have been no honor left for us. We would have been mere failures in our mission, unfit to face our dead comrades. Perhaps dying here in the Far East alongside my gun is a more fitting end for a soldier. Is this still me?
Still here, yeah.
I noticed the sound of shuffling feet coming from around the corner and strained to hear. Someone seriously wounded and dragging their feet? Noticing them before they notice me greatly helps my chances. At this stage, there is no point in taking prisoners. We must dispose of all the Japanese. I'll dash around the corner, quickly check to see who they are, and shoot if it's a Japanese person. Nothing more. I've been hiding my footsteps the whole time. They probably don't know I'm here. Once the shuffling footsteps had come close enough.
Oh, what? Fuck, shit. Raised his gun. Angelo leaned around the corner and raised his gun. The voice that reached him spoke Italian.
Run.
You!
I've been looking for you, Lieutenant Angelo. That makes all of you. I've been counting Italian corpses, you see.
Lieutenant Angelo! Are you okay?
Blood poured from Angelo's chest. His gun fell to the floor, then his knees, and the rest of his body crumpled and stopped moving. Yamato's accuracy with a gun wasn't particularly stellar. However, Angelo had waited until they were fairly close before jumping out. Yamamoto had made the shot. He had managed to hit even with a short-barreled handgun in one hand, and a woman as a hostage in the other.
Really, though, our Rokujima garrison's pathetic. Am I the only one who's not dead? Trash. All of them.
Bastardi! Codardi! Can't you fight without using a woman as a shield, you brute? Let go!
Quiet. Noisy, these Italian girls. If you'd just be cooperative, I'd at least spare your life.
An obvious lie that even he wore a bitter smile. The Italians were spies working for the enemy, and they all died along with the garrison in the gunfight. This is the story that Yamamoto wanted to tell. He couldn't afford to have any Italian survivors. By this point, he wouldn't be able to keep the entire pile of gold. They should be able to grab as many as he could carry. Even that'd be worth a huge amount of money. Beatrice suddenly swung her head, smashing Yamamoto's nose hard.
Someone! Help! Someone!
You bitch!
She... Oh, that's you? Actually, no, that's me. She almost managed to escape. However, Yamamoto quickly grabbed her leg and tripped her. Fugu fell onto her back, and Yamamoto mercilessly stomped his foot down on her stomach and pointed his gun at her.
I don't make a hobby of taming tomboys. Die!
Lieutenant Yamamoto, she has nothing to do with this! Let go of her! Kinzo jumped out from the shadows, holding a gun he had stolen from one of the corpses.
Yoshiramiya. Ah, so you're alive.
Let go! You're hurting her!
It was you, wasn't it? You tipped the Italians off.
What are you talking about? Yamamoto didn't know that the grenade had been a dud. He'd been sure that the surprise attack wouldn't work, but it hadn't. So he'd assumed that Kinzo must have tipped them off.
It's your fault the surprise attack failed and we're stuck like this. You turncoat, you traitor to your country. I know you've been working with them through this woman.
Can't you see that you caused all this because you were blinded by gold?
Run, Kinzo! This man has shot people begging for their lives. He'll shoot you too.
Don't talk Italian. If you open your mouth again, I won't hesitate to shoot.
It hurts.
Yamamoto ground his heel into Beatrice's gut. Stop it! Stop it! Nothing to do with this!
Oh? Are you pointing a gun at a superior officer? Stop and think a bit, fool. If we agree to keep the same story, you can have that pile of gold all to ourselves, okay? I could only grab a few on my own, but if we work together, we'll be able to sneak off with even more. I don't mean this as your superior officer. Let's split it equally between us as men.
The last time you offered to split the gold 50-50, you did to slit their throats!
Sure, Mia. Looks like you prefer lead to gold.
Without any hesitation, Yamamoto raised the barrel of his gun toward Kinzo and pulled the trigger. It grazed Kinzo's right ear. Yamamoto's aim had just been a bit better. The bullet would have slammed into Kinzo's face.
Kinzo? How could you?
Not letting Yamamoto's momentary distraction go to waste, Beatrice lashed out and planted her right foot in Yamamoto's crotch. Moaning in pain, a demonic expression flashed across Yamamoto's face, and he stomped on her chest. Beatrice!
You bitch! Die!
Beatrice shut her eyes tightly, hoping that she could withstand the coming pain. No one wants to watch the moment they get shot.
You...
Trip, trip, trip. A blood splash poured out of Yamamoto's chest. Just as you took so many lives of your own for your own personal reasons, I'll take your life. For mine. Could Yamamoto hear Kinzo's words until the very end? In his last moments, he seemed to grin. Then slowly, he fell backwards with a spurt of blood.
Kinzo! Are you okay? I was sure you'd been shot! Ugh.
Beatrice tried to stand up, but then doubled over and started coughing. Beache! Are you hurt?
My ribs are hurting. That brute really was stomping them hard.
Will you be okay? I hope they aren't broken.
Italian women don't break so easily. But, thanks. I owe you my life. If you hadn't come, it would have all ended there.
Yamamoto had shown no mercy. Her ribs were probably cracked. He didn't have the option of waiting, possibly for several days, for the ship that was coming. Made the decision to carry her away from the island. The man who kept yelling about preserving the secrecy of the base is lying there dead. The next island over, Nijima, was close. A small boat should be more than enough to get us there. I need to take you to a hospital. That wound might be more serious than you realize.
That's interesting. I never knew there was a hospital on this island.
There isn't. The boat will get us to the next island over. We'll get you to a hospital. As for me, unless I cleverly cover up what happens on this island, I might end up getting court-martialed just for being here.
I have a request. Please, don't take me to a hospital.
Why?
If we go to a hospital and the embassy is contacted, I'll eventually be sent back to Italy. If that happens, I'll be interrogated about all kinds of things. I won't acknowledge the bastards who let Mama die. There's no homeland for me to return to now. This is the end for... This is the end for me. So there's nowhere I want to go anymore. Lieutenant Angelo. Rubens. Everyone who was so kind to me. They're all dead.
And because of that, you want to die here, too? I thought you said Italian women weren't weak. Live.
Hey, Hinzo. What does it mean to live? You're the one who taught me, aren't you? Living is more than just breathing. I don't want to go back to Italy.
Biche.
You said that you were dead until you met me. But it's the same for me. I died in that submarine. My homeland fell. Mama died. Even Papa died. I prayed that our sub would just sink to the bottom of the ocean. So, when we reached this place, I was actually disappointed that we'd survived. Then, right after that, Lieutenant D'Angelo started asking whether anyone could speak English.
When Kinza met Beatrice, he'd finally forgot about dying. And Beatrice met Kinza, she also forgot about dying.
Now that I've lost my homeland, my friends, and my family, my only wish is for you to kidnap me and take me away with you.
Biche.
But I I know that's a wish that couldn't possibly come true. So, at the very least, I want to be with you until the boat comes for us. I don't care about the pain in my chest. After all, when that boat comes and takes me away, I'll die.
Beatrice spoke this, smiling softly. She did her best to hide the pain in her chest.
Please, Kinzo. Just for the few days until the boat comes. Kidnap me.
That's a wish I can't grant. Looking apologetic, Kinzo lifted Beato up and gently sat her on the boat.
Coward. So, Japanese men are weak after all.
You're right. I am a coward. So I can only grant you half of your wish. With a clunk, he placed it wrapped in a jacket on the boat.
What do you mean?
That part about until the boat comes for you. That's the part I can't grant.
Huh? What do you mean?
Kidnapping you. That part I will do.
So...
There has to be a doctor on Nijima. I'm wearing a Navy uniform. She will pass myself off as a survivor of a boat carrying a VIP that was sunk by enemy ships. If the doctor happens to be of the greedy sort, all the better. After all, I have right here the golden magic to make people do what I say. A witch from a distant country took my lifeless body and gave me a soul. Bone came to me with the gold and revived me with her magic. You are a witch. The Golden Witch.
Yes, the Golden Witch. Even though I use the same recipe as everyone else, only my alchemy can turn pasta into a smoking black heap. Just like you, I'm nothing but a corpse allowed to live, just as long as you're with me. If you go, I'll die straight away.
I won't let you die.
Really?
No matter what.
Take responsibility, okay? After all, you're the one kidnapping me.
Should we end it there? It is 12 o'clock. It is 12:09.
I think we should keep going. I think we should keep
This chapter is like pretty much over.
I see! So Kinzo's son told you that much.
Beyond. Okay, right, she's still gone.
B, you still like dying?
He?
Leon!
Man, that is on point, Con. Go, Orange.
No, wait, hold on.
What?
Then, wait, it was you? You're the Nijima doctor who grandfather took Beatrice to see?
Willard.
Why so
Is
shy?
my people-
Technical diffs?
Give me a
Maybe
second.
I should take Leon. Or Willard.
Wait,
I'm joking. He's having issues. He's having issues. Just give him a
Hear me
second.
now.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I think I will just do Willard.
Fuck you, die.
Why are you so shocked?
God damn.
Why so shocked? Should have leapt to the mind ever since the words Nietzsche, my doctor.
All of a sudden, a soldier of the Navy appeared along with a foreign woman. Of course, I was astounded. And then he actually told me to treat her wounds confidentially, since her presence was a military secret.
Was that the first time you met Grandfather?
Yes. That was when we first met.
So, you're the greedy doctor who followed orders for the sake of the gold?
That's a bit harsh. He suddenly brought in a foreign woman patient, explained to me that this was a military secret. Promised that he'd pay the medical fees later and handed me a gold ingot as collateral. I didn't want to get involved with any funny business. I was reluctant to say the least.
I see your point. But in the end, you did conceal Beatrice, didn't you?
I may not be as scared as Kinzo, but I do have some familiarity with English. I managed to overhear part of their conversation, and that was enough for me to convince me that they were not troublesome people. Of course, if I were to say that the ingot didn't tempt me, that would be a lie. I was much younger than you see.
What happened to her next?
I treated her for some time before a messenger from the Shiramiya family came and said that she would be moved to Odawara. They took her away.
So, Grandfather didn't come to get her himself?
Regardless of how Kinzo explained away the incident on Rakenjima, he probably wouldn't be able to move about freely for some time afterwards.
Precisely. Kinzo-san said that has said that deceiving the military was the greatest challenge of his life.
So, Beatrice went to Odawara, and then what?
I've heard that she hid in one of their unused villas. After all, Kinzo already had a family at that time. He must have been tricky to manage.
So leading a double life was business as usual for Kinzo, even before Kuwadorian. Whoosh.
What are you doing? Is your butt itching? And later on, Beatrice and Grandfather continued their happy relationship in the villa from then on.
I've heard that it was a modest, peaceful life. Several years later, they had a child.
So, Kuwadorian's Beatrice was born.
The birth didn't go well. It was truly a sad tale.
You don't mean she died?
Don't be surprised. Kinzo believed his daughter was Beatrice Reborn. You can't neglect the heart. It's possible to reason it out.
You're right. My apologies.
I don't know how many years Kinzo-san spent with her in Odawara. However, judging by the Kinzo-san we grew to know after, one can tell how deeply he loved her, even if only they had a few years together.
I see.
And then he made Kuadorian for his daughter.
Kinzo-san cleverly made use of the submarine's gold to build up a fortune in a flash. Then he made use of his considerable skills in English to make connections with the GHQ, becoming immensely wealthy in a short span of time. There is no need to explain this part to you, Leon-san.
Yes. He used that vast wealth, bought Rokenjima, and built the mansion. The remaining relatives in Odawara scoffed at grandfather, thinking he was crazy to buy an entire deserted island.
If you carried 10 tons of gold around in your pocket, Kinzo probably wouldn't have bought Rokenjima. Huh?
Oh wait, I thought that was B's role. I thought it said Leon.
He had hid the gold somewhere in Rokenjima, built up a fortune with the ingots he'd taken out of it, and then bought up the whole treasure island.
Exactly. And that started the legend of the Yoshiramiya gold.
What about the mark of the one-winged eagle that was supposedly pressed it into the ingots?
The one-winged eagle, or more precisely, the eagle of which only one wing is visible.
What do you mean?
You see it as often in Europe, do you not? A crest or coat of arms with an eagle spreading its wings on it. The flag of the Sailor Republic also had an eagle, or was it a hawk? At any rate, it had some bird of that type emblazoned on it.
So the Emperor was made too lightly, or else it was poorly done.
Correct. They used a rough wartime press. It was probably supposed to look like the crest of an eagle spreading its wings. But it was pressed in at a slight slant, so half of it was too light to see. Oh my god.
So half of the eagle spreading its wing disappeared, making it look like a one-winged eagle.
Kinzo thought the seal of the gold on the gold of Beatrice, the woman who had changed his fate, looked like a one-winged eagle. Then that must be why he decided to make that his own crest.
Oh, I thought they were saying it was a mistake.
If the imprint had been made correctly, it would have been the eagle of the Sailor Republic's flag. Or it could have been the two-headed. No, of course not. Passing the night away with Kinzo-san in front of the massive pile of gold, shrieking and wondering, was a truly enjoyable experience. However, Kinzo-san didn't want people using that seal to figure out where the gold had come from. The gold he took outside was already pressed with the one-winged eagle design he had created.
And all he did was show you the gold? What a cheapskate.
Of course, after he became immensely rich, Kinzo-san came to me once more, saying he'd pay me in full for the overdue medical expenses. The amount he came with was a bit much for medical fees. Though I did make sure to give him his change.
And you've been friends ever since?
Yeah. Kinzo-san was extremely grateful to me for keeping a secret and concealing Beatrice.
Grandfather always said that the old relatives in Odawara were a bunch of greedy liars. I'm sure he appreciated your strong sense of duty, Dr. Nanjo. I think I understand why a person like Grandfather came to trust you.
I also had some interest in foreign countries as well as a hobby of playing chess. Kinzo-san and I had gotten along well ever since. It was a friendship that built up gradually but grew strong before we knew it. Yes, we have been friends a very long time.
People who deal with large amounts of money tend to be quite mindful of small amounts as well. When you refuse to accept anything more than the medical fees, that must have earned you his admiration.
Ridiculous. I was just frightened by the large quantity of money. I began to regret it later. It seems I never had real guts.
No need to worry there. Guts are the one thing you've got no shortage of.
Jesus. You think so? Well, I appreciate the flattery.
That wasn't flattery.
For at least one whole year after Kinzo's death, Nanjo had taken part in hiding the secret of that death. Of course, Natsu must have given him some hush money. So there could be no doubt that he'd have enough guts to withstand pressure from Kinzo's children for a long time, without slipping up once.
That's something that'd take real guts. That sense of duty must be a part of your personality.
Perhaps that's my only redeeming quality.
I think Grandfather was blessed with a good friend.
And there we go.
And we're
I thought
done.
he was calling him fat.
No.
How?
No.
Whenever he said, yeah, I got.
And when he said it wasn't flattery, when he was like,
yeah, he said it wasn't flattery.
I was expecting a pinch.
Also, additionally, I put the sprite comparison of that Beatrice up in the reference room for people who wanted to see.
Cool.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
Cute.
See, I promised a decent amount of tomfoolery in the chat, and I wasn't wrong.
It was full.
Little bit of Baba da Boopy in there, you know.
We missed out on sexy Italian Beatrice, but we got even more offensive.
Thank you so much for watching my show.
Yeah.
A little bit of race.
I didn't call anyone a Saiyan, okay?
Oh, God.
Yeah, were you actually alive when that happened? We did not know that.
Everybody.
Good night, Shelly.
Night.
Right, Shelly.
Good night, hello.
Alright,
Good night.
enough being said, we're gonna wrap this bitch up. Hey.
Oh, we're not doing afterthoughts?
No.
We already are dying.
It's almost 11:30 here, and
Alright,
it's
fair
Yeah, it's over.
Thank you all very much for joining us. If there are people who are in the chat who are not already following,
is it sound?
and you enjoyed what you saw, consider following. Maybe even subscribe. You get cool emotes and shit if you do. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Consider supporting everybody else. Digital Joshua, it has some good shit going on too. It's Digital Joshi, but I call him Joshua. Other shit.
It's with an IE, not a Y.
Mm-hmm. There's also the Discord too. That's pretty cool too. If you want to support us, you too can become a weird Italian soldier man, like everybody else.
You two can fall for an absolutely hilarious.
There's an Italian soldier in all of us.
Oh, I'm not joking. Look at the.
Follow
look at the
for
list right
more
now on the roll.
Willard butt pinches.
Je pas encore.
If you
I'm
want
just
to play
really
with
happy
Leon's
that, like,
hair tassels, follow.
I'm just really happy that the Japanese soldiers did not turn into Takeo. I'm happy that you put your foot down on that.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm Italian. I'm allowed to do the exaggerated voice. Anyways,
So am I.
good night, everybody.
Chili and Orange
Bye,
combined
bye.
to form the Italian AT field to protect us from any accusations of racism.
I'm ending the stream now. Bye bye.